One of the great problems that faces us today is despair. When we come upon some situation which seems too much for us, the real temptation is to lose heart. When we are confronted with obstacles which seem insurmountable, we too often retreat, acknowledging defeat. When we look at what ought to be done and then why it seems impossible to do it, we throw our hands up and say, "Not now." But most of the time, when we feel defeated and overcome with despair, we forget that there are resources other than our own, that God is able to see us through. It is interesting to note that there is a recurring theme in our Bible which says, God is able. In Jude 24, the writer is apparently speaking to those who face temptation when he writes, "Unto him that is able to keep you from falling." Paul puts it like this in Romans 14:4, God is able to make him stand. When we are hesitant, there is this confident note sounded by Paul in his letter to the Philippians, able even to subdue all things unto himself, 3:21. When we are tempted to confine God within the boundaries of our own inadequate calculations and feel that he is limited within our cramping expectations, let us listen to those words from Ephesians 3:20. Now unto him that is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that we ask or think. And in 2 Corinthians 9:8, Paul continues to affirm the power of God when he writes, God is able to make all grace abound toward you, that you, always having all sufficiency in all things, may abound to every good work. Indeed, our God is able. Let us see how we forget this in our affairs. It is so easy for us to assign God a secondary role in the world scene. We're prone to add up the number of bombers and atomic carriers Russia has compared to our own, and we figure the number of men in arms and the size of the army, the types of guns being produced as compared to that of our own and of our friends. We give great thought to the location of airfields, the control of waterways, and the productivity of soil for feeding men in arms. Now, to be sure, realism does force our leaders to so consider. We must give thought to the resources at hand and their availability for the future. It would be suicidal to blindly go through life and not give heed to what human hands can do. But what I'm concerned about is that we not omit God in our planning, that we remember he is alive and active in the affairs of men, that he is still in command of this world, that in his possession are forces which can change the hearts of men and alter the tides of time. Let us not forget that this is God's universe, and it will be run according to his plan, or it will not run. History bears evidence to the fact that the moral laws of God will prevail, that in the end, the nation or people which honor those laws are the ones which will stand. Yes, as Paul said, God is able even to subdue all things unto himself. This is a tonic which can give us hope for times like these. God is able, not only on the world scene, but also in our personal lives. When we face despair, when we meet obstacles, to be sure, we must take into account the physical resources at hand. It is right that we explore to the fullest the brains given us and the talents available. But after we have done this, let's not rule out God. Unto him that is able to keep you from falling, he said. He becomes our hope in time of temptation. When we're prone to falter along the way, remember, God is able to make us stand. Maybe some of you feel that your life is a failure. You're in despair. Sin has made you sick. You no longer gain joy out of living. Life has no meaning. You're ready to throw in the towel, as they say. Or maybe you have a loved one whose life has been broken by evil living. You're beginning to feel that there is no hope for him. Your home is almost broken because of sinful ways. Or perchance some of you feel that life has crowded you in a corner and you see no way out, only a dead-end street. Tragedy has come your way. It may be through broken health, or financial distress, or an aching sorrow. It may be a handicap of physical limitation. Well, here is hope for you. Our God is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that we ask or think. He's able to take what seems to be a hopeless, helpless, broken man and make him whole again. He can take a person who does not want to live and make him fall in love with life again. Paul, the great apostle, a man of dynamic action and creative ability, once said, "For we were so utterly, unbearably crushed that we despaired of life itself." 2 Corinthians 1:8. And yet, he said, God is able to make him stand. And in that faith, he became the world's greatest missionary. There is no greater need in our time than that of counting on God. As William Carey has well phrased it, expect great things from God. Attempt great things for God. To be sure, God expects us to use to the fullest all the gifts and powers with which we are endowed, to be wise as our wisdom will let us be. But he also expects us to leave some things to him, to live by faith in his promises. And soon we discover that, as Ralph W. Sockman says, the more we lean on God, the more we stand on our own feet. The more we hold to him, the more we find personal sufficiency. Amen. And thank you for listening.